See, you can't drag stuck people with you. That's just like crabs in a bucket.
Yeah.
All the people that I grew up with, the way that my parents are and stuff, I can't change them, and I don't plan to, and I'm not going to exhaust myself doing it. But I have God on my side too. And God, when you hear the right person with the right message at the right time, you will move. At some point, you will move whenever you're ready for it. But just like we all have free will, God sends messages all the time. So he says, hey, I'm ready for you. I'm ready for you to step up when you are. I'm ready for you. Here's another reminder of me showing you that I'm ready for you. And you have to decide to step into that light. No human being can do that for you. I can't drag you through it. It's just the way that it is. But there are a lot of people out there, like you said, that are finally sick and tired enough and know that they're built for more. That's my guy.
Yeah.
That's who I'm looking for right there.
I love it.
And if they're scared, dude, I'll share my courage with you. I'll let you borrow some courage. I'll let you borrow courage. And
welcome to the podcast. Nathan Newberry here, your host. Super pumped for you to jump into the story here of Maria Kirby. She's also a part of the official Elliott group. We're going to hear her story. Before you do, I want to let you know that right down below the show notes, we have a link to a training that I developed for building an authority online. Check that out beforehand. That's going to be really awesome. Maria, super pumped to have you here, jumping into the podcast here. Let me ask you a quick question that I want to ask everybody, but I want to get your take on this. What does high performance mean to you? What does that look like? What does that look like in your daily life? Give me an understanding of how someone can really understand that and how you apply it to your life.
yeah, in order to define it, I would say that a high performer is somebody who is going to be someone who just doesn't give up, someone who has a relentless pursuit to go after whatever it is that they want. And I don't think that it actually even equates to money, but money does end up being a byproduct of most high performers. But when you're starting at ground zero and you are a high performer, you don't actually have the result yet, but having that relentless attitude, pushing every single day, having good energy, being able to be coached, being coachable, those are all things that make someone eventually what we classify as a high performer, and getting the results that a high performer does. And in order to instill that every day, I think it's just a level of consistency. It's a level of getting up even on the days that you don't want to. It's showing up to work every single day with a good attitude, but also being somebody who wants to never stop. The people that are looking for a level of comfort are the ones that will eventually, they may be a high performer for a little bit of time, but eventually they will not be a high performer anymore. And so the true 1%ers are the ones that just don't ever stop and have no cap, and it's never going to be enough.
Well, you have a unique background here because you work with the Elliott group, and there's a lot of high achievers. I mean, you guys talk about it. Andy Elliott has a huge online following. You're a part of his executive team there. Help us understand what you do, what everybody knows you for. Kind of give us an idea of your success there.
Yeah. So backing up a little bit to even getting here, I had no background at all, and I was never in sales. That's one thing that Andy doesn't look for the people that are qualified and have all the awards already. He looks for the broken people, for the people that come from nothing, for the people that have something to prove. Those are the people that have an edge. Those are the ones that aren't ever going to get comfortable because they're fighting for something. And so I came here never being in sales, my first sales position. And I went from making $15 an hour working in a vet hospital to this year clearing $700,000. So, and I'm only my second year into sales.
Wow.
So it is life-changing getting into sales and having the right coaches and the right mentors. And I really do believe that when I came and actually started learning from Andy, I was like a newborn baby in the world. I didn't know anything. I never really had a coach or a mentor before. I really didn't understand that concept of having someone actually teach you. My only perception was you go to college, you get an education, you work your 9 to 5, you work till you're 65. And I realized pretty quickly at 23 years old that was not the life that I wanted to live. I didn't want to live like everyone else. And I didn't want to fight for what I think now is, for a lot of people, that's a big dream. But for me, that was a small dream. And I did it so early that I'm like, what do I do for the next 65 years that I'm alive, that I'm on planet Earth here? So when I came in, I was very shy. I was very timid. I didn't talk to anybody. I honestly was scared shitless of what people were going to think of me. I was scared of messing up. And come to find out, that's all part of the process, that you are going to get judged the more that you grow, the more that you develop, and the more that you grow far away from who people knew you as, and the more you grow closer to your future self, you're going to lose people, and people are going to judge you within that, and you are going to fail. You're going to lose money. You're going to lose clients. You're going to mess a lot of stuff up. It's going to cost you a lot to learn those lessons, but that's all part of the game.
That's so, so true. Uh, I I always think that there's like a different personality type with high achievers. You're definitely one of them. Did you find this out working here, or is this something at the very beginning you just kind of noticed yourself being a little bit different? Like, were you like a Girl Scout, like just hustling it? Like, did you sell candy bars at college? Like, to help us understand, like, you knew that you were a little different. You were wired a little bit different as a high achiever. Like, tell us some of those beginning origin stories there.
Yeah. So as a kid, I wasn't the one that was selling candy bars, but I was very, how do I say this? I've always been very direct, and I've always been very like as a matter of fact. And no one really taught me to be that way. I was just that way. And I don't know why. And I had a hard time as I was growing up actually building relationships with people, because if I saw something, I was like, I just call your ass out. And my family's not like that. I come from a background, my real dad's an alcoholic and addicted to pills. My mom, early on, she was addicted to heroin. She got clean for a long time, relapsed to pills and stuff later on when I was older. And my stepdad's addicted to crack cocaine. So like they didn't teach me how to be a top performer. It was just something that was inside of me. And I would do things, for example, I just didn't have a lot of friends. I didn't have a lot of girlfriends. I always ran with the guys. And a lot of my relationships ended just because I was like, you should probably take care of yourself better. And people didn't like that. They
Mm,
didn't like that I was just very direct with them, to the point that as I got older, I stopped doing those things. And because I wanted people to like me. And I had this drive. I mean, all through college, I worked 3 jobs through college. I paid every single penny. I never pulled a loan out for college. I just wanted to do something. And I didn't know what that looked like, because I didn't come from education. I didn't come
yeah.
from parents that could really show me. And I think that as I got older, I started to bury that version of me. I started to bury that confident version, the one that was direct, the one that was had a lot of drive, who was fighting for something. I buried it because it didn't really get along with average people, how I was. And so I stopped speaking up. I stopped really pushing myself. And I just kind of fell right into that 9 to 5 thing. As I fell into these 9 to 5 jobs, I would get so frustrated because I do them for a year or two. And honestly, I'm not trying to sound like I've got a big ego, but honestly, I would just get good at them. And then I got bored because
Hmm.
I got so good at it. And I remember talking with my husband saying, I wish there was a job that I could make a ton of money, travel around the world, and still help people. And somehow I was gifted the Elliott Group because I get to do all of those things.
Hmm.
But one of the things that frustrated me the most was feeling like I couldn't grow, feeling like every time I got into a position and I got good at it, they would say, well, you already make the max amount of money that you can make in this role. So either you can leave our company and go back to school, or this is just where you're going to have to be. And I did not like that. It created a lot of frustration for me because I knew deep down there was more potential. There was something else there. And I just had to figure out how to pull that version out. And I didn't know how to, but I had Andy, and he's pulled that version out.
There's a lot of 9 to 5ers that maybe feel stuck. They feel complacent like that, because
Mm.
I know the feeling of that. As a high performance, you definitely realize that you're like the 1%, and you're a little bit odd because you're an outlier, because everybody else wants you to conform and be complacent, right? And you're a little bit different in the way that you found something that gave you that opportunity. And for me, it was the same way. It was sales was that outlet to really have that entrepreneurship spirit that allow you to really be able to dive in and do some amazing things and help people. But when people think of sales, it's a little bit different. They think of the boiler room, they think of Wolf of Wall Street. How do you overcome that with helping people really learn how to do sales, and train people with it? Because I think they have to get over themselves of being complacent. And then they also have to dive into something that they haven't learned that they should learn, which is the number one thing that everybody should know, is learning how to do sales. And then they have this bad connotation when they think of sales. So how do you overcome that? How do you teach people to have a different framework, a different mindset around sales and growth?
Yeah. Well, The reality is that it's just like anything else. When you talk about an addict, for example, an addict's not going to get clean until they're ready to get clean. And that person that's in that 9 to 5, you can't take them and drag them out of their 9 to 5. You can't drag them into discomfort. And so the people that we actually service and help are the ones that are ready to change, are the ones that are ready to grow, or the ones that are ready for another opportunity. Those are the people that we can truly help.
Yeah.
Because the other ones, I can't. All they can do is sit on the other side of just looking at this podcast, and they get to decide for themselves whether or not they're ready. And when they are, they will take a leap of faith, and they will reach out and they'll say, hey, I'm doing this massive leap and I don't know what's next. Can you help me? And then I can help that person once they're ready. But you can't make people want to change. And that's why we'll always have average people, because they'll believe that sales is a scam and that it's not for them and that they're not a sleazy salesperson. Unfortunately, society has created a bad image of salespeople because they created the Wolf on Wall Street, right? And they think that that's what it is. And it's really not that way. But also, bad salespeople have created a bad name for other salespeople.
Yeah.
And it's our job now to fix that name, to fix really what sales is, and making salespeople great again at what they do, which is helping somebody make a decision when we know it's a good decision for them. But too many people have had pushed people into making a bad decision that wasn't good for them. And now the industry has a bad name. And so it's up to us now. It's our responsibility truly to fixing the name of sales and letting people see the true value of getting into sales and what it really means to bet on you and the kinds of results you can get by doing that.
We have a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to this podcast, and a lot of them have different businesses and they have to wear a lot of different hats. And the two big ones is that they need leads and revenue. As a salesperson, we've talked about this a little bit offline here, but like, tell us a little bit how you think of those two major challenges for entrepreneurs. Leads, they just wait and hope. They try to do something, as well as really learning how to do sales, because you have both of these sides in the pendulum almost. Someone could be really great at sales but no leads, or you have all the leads and horrible at sales. And so it's like, how do you end up teaching people those two elements that help you drive and be able to be successful?
Of course. So you're right. It is hard to balance the two. And something I mentioned to you is early on, we didn't get leads. And also we weren't good salespeople. So we didn't have either one going for us, really. We were trying to figure it out until we did figure it out. And what I learned was that there's two types of lions, and it depends on really what kind of culture you want to have and the kind of people that you're trying to develop. And you have lions in a zoo that sit there and they're capable of being killers. They're capable of hunting their own food, but they simply wait for the steak to be delivered to them and then they eat, right? And those are the people that really rely on leads. Those are the salespeople that no matter what, they're consistent. No matter what, they're always going to close a deal. You just got to make sure that they get fed and they'll make sure that they're performing for you. Now, a true top performer in sales, I'll never go hungry. I don't need leads. I can find people. I can hunt people. I know how to build relationships. And so there are levels to the game, and there are levels to the skill set. And if you go online as an entrepreneur and you're listening to this, you go online, you go to Google and you type in, what's the top skill that I can learn to make a lot of money? It's going to tell you sales and communication. Yeah. And so regardless of what business you're in, what your niche is, and even if you're doing basket weaving, it doesn't matter. You could be the best basket weaver in the world, but if you can't talk to people, no one's buying your baskets. So it's up to you as an entrepreneur to gain that skill. But also, there's a concept around, I don't need to gain all the skills. I just need to hire the right people. That will work for you too once you are a certain size. But if you're a startup company and you're the only guy and you're running 10 different positions and you are the marketer and you are the salesperson and you're also swinging the hammer in that company, you better get damn good at sales, because you have no one else to do that for you. But as you bring people into your company, who's going to teach them? Leaders build more leaders if they're truly good leaders. And if you just want to bring in more people to swing a hammer into your company and not push on the front lines with you, then that's what you're going to get. And you're going to get the byproduct of that. But leaders build leaders. And so if you want to have the best, you're going to have to become the best. That's the only way that works. Even if you hire people and you hire the right people, but you're not actually the leader that they need, they probably came to you for money and they're going to leave for money. It's just a matter of time. And then you're going to be hunting for the next person to come in. So culture is one of the biggest pieces that I can really push on that. but also being the right leader. And gaining that skill it comes from having the right teacher, having the right coach, but also putting in the repetition.
Let's talk about that a little bit. You're an executive there at Andy Elliott's group there. What are some things that you had to learn um, to be the best leader that you are now?
Mm, I had to fail. That's
Okay.
part of it. Um, but I would say that I had to self lead first. And I wasn't a very good leader until I started self leading. And there's a big difference between a leader and a manager. A manager comes in and manages people and they're there for a salary. They clock in and they clock out.
Hmm.
But a leader truly doesn't ever stop. A leader doesn't ever sleep, and they don't sleep on developing themselves. But people naturally, you don't even have to really overthink this. People, it's not like you have to put an effort in to lead somebody. When you walk into a room, people know whether or not you're leading or not by the way that you carry yourself, by the way that you walk into that room, the way that you have a conversation with someone, the way that you care about people. You don't have to have some special conversation or state to people. I don't have to tell you, Nathan, that I'm a leader inside of a company for you to know that I'm a leader in the company. I'm just doing all the right things. I'm taking care of myself. I'm pouring into my team. I'm taking care of my family, taking care of my business. I'm doing everything. And so naturally, to be a leader, people just follow. Like people, and you've never seen Andy stand up in front of the team or on stage and say, I'm the leader of this company. He just does. And he does all the right things. And he just self leads to the point so well that people want to follow that. And now he can teach those lessons.
What are some of these habits or principles that you had to adopt? Things that you had to either cut out of your life, coming into this, growing, takes a lot of pruning, right? Like I'm in, an orchard in Washington State here. We got pears all over my backyard, everywhere. And every spring, and even during the winter, they come out and they just start hacking limbs. And it almost goes down to a stump. And you're wondering, hey,
Mhm.
why is this? Why are they doing it? It seems like they're killing the tree. But really, it's the benefit of the growth of the tree that produces the fruit that's going to be actually edible and usable in the market. What are some of the things that you had to cut out of your own life and some of the habits that you had to adopt to actually be that person that you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. So starting out, we drank a lot. We drank a lot of alcohol, and it was a huge distraction. It was like after work every day we were drinking. On the weekends we were drinking, and I realized that made me feel like shit all the time. Like I woke up tired. I wasn't wanting to get up and go to the gym and take care of myself. And this went on for a long time, for years. And honestly, I was lazy. And when it comes down to, and the reason that I was lazy and the part of the reason that I was so frustrated was because I knew that I had potential. And the reason I was so frustrated with myself and why I was so lazy and why I was drinking is because I was burying the fact that I wasn't doing the right thing.
Mm.
I was burying the fact that I am a top performer and that I'm meant for a big life. And spoke a little bit. We were talking about religion is one of the topics that you guys talk about. And I knew that God put me here for a bigger purpose and that I didn't go through what I went through as a kid just to fall into the same crap that my parents were in.
Mm.
But I was turning into that person. And so when I finally decided and made a full commitment, I cut everything off. I started working out every day. I cut out the alcohol. I stopped being lazy. I stopped watching TV. And that actually, when I started doing that, is how this opportunity to be with the Ellie Group opened up. But even more so, when I came out here, I still realized that I had some things that I was doing. Like on the weekends, I was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna." I was operating like I was operating like an employee, right? It's like work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, take your weekends, you do the chill, all these things. So I didn't come out here and start drinking again, but I did start doing like sitting down and watching Netflix and like not doing what I need to do at night, not going back and reflecting on my day, not doing any kind of studying or getting better with something. It was just like, I was like, oh man, I'm so tired. I worked so hard today. When really at the end of the day, I hadn't given 100%. And there was a lot of frustration around where I was at
Mm.
from a revenue standpoint my whole first year because I was like, oh, well, I worked hard, but I was frustrated because I actually knew I wasn't maxing myself out.
Mm.
I wasn't doing all the right things. And so I literally at one point ripped all the TVs off the wall. I still don't have a TV on the wall. I ripped everything down. I was like, we're doing whiteboards and all we're going to do is we're just going to study and train 24/7 because otherwise it's going to take us 5 years to get where we want to. And I want to get there in a year. And I don't want to sit here and play around any longer. And it's not an age thing, but I know that if I am going to completely do what my purpose is here for what God's giving me, I have to start now.
Yeah.
That's why I've been given this opportunity. I have to start now. I can't wait till I'm 45 and decide to, pick up the game a little bit. So there's a lot that goes into, you just have to really cut everything off and just go 100% in on you and all the right things, right? Reading, training, practicing, working out, talking to the right people, getting close with the leaders who can actually help get you there faster. And not hiding from the fact that you suck at something, just accepting that you suck and doing everything you can to get better.
That's amazing. I think people don't do that. They really have, the weekends that they have to have to kind of rest and recover. Where does this obsession come from, Maria? I love it, by the way, but like, where does it come from? Where's this drive? Is it from the bad upbringing that causes you to want to prove something different? Like, what's driving this obsession that you have about growth and becoming the best
Yeah.
you can?
In the beginning, I think it was really heavily about my past. And they talk about like this, what actually fuels you, right? And in the beginning, it truly was. And I think what I was doing was trying to prove that I'm not like my parents. I was trying to actually prove to my family that there is a way out, and prove to myself that I deserve an opportunity to get out and that I don't have to be like them. And I was using a lot of anger to fuel me in the beginning because I was still really pissed off about a lot of the stuff that happened in my childhood. And I wasn't really facing that anger. And so I kind of burned that, and to a point that I burned it up so much that I wasn't really angry anymore. And there was a period, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs do go through this, where there's a period where you start winning and you almost are like, what am I fighting for now? I'm not angry anymore, right? I worked through my anger. I'm not pissed off at the world. I don't have anything to necessarily prove in that way. And so what I realized was that this is much bigger than me. And I could do one of two things. As I started, when every entrepreneur goes through this, it's like this, and it's kind of between this like $1 and $10 million range that you hit within, that you get a little bit comfortable because you have things you've never had before. You no longer have to look at the prices at the grocery store every time you go out to eat, right? You're driving a nice car, you're living in a nice house, and I now burnt all my angry fuel on getting this far. And now I'm like, okay, cool. Like I did something. And you kind of settle into that a little bit, and you have to be really careful because it gets dangerous. Your ego also sets in because now you think that you're good. What I learned was that we're not good, and I'm just starting, and it's no longer just about me, but it's about the world. It's about leaving an impact and a legacy for everybody. And I believe that within the US, we're just brainwashed. You're brainwashed to fear everything. You're brainwashed that you have to go do the 9 to 5, that you have to work till 65. You have to have a 401k. You have to buy a house. You have to have 2 kids and a dog to actually have made anything out of your life. And that's so wrong. It's so wrong. And it's not fair for the world. And there's nobody out there that's really teaching them that there's a different way, that everybody can win, that there's enough money out there and enough resources out there where 99% of the world doesn't have to live like literally in poverty, where you have to be careful and you can't buy the extra steak at the grocery store or even afford steak at all. There is a different way out. And it's simply by learning a skill. And if you can learn that skill, it can take you anywhere. That communication piece can get you into a lot of rooms because closed mouths don't get fed. And it can take you so much farther than you think. And I don't owe it to myself any longer. It's not about me. It's about the rest of the world. I owe it to the rest of the world. I owe it to God for putting me here and giving me this life and this opportunity. I owe it to him to do his work and make sure that the people know that they're being trapped, that they're being brainwashed into society today, and that there's another way out.
Because so many people are trapped. They have, I mean, just us talking, like the growth mindset, they're just complacent. They feel stuck, or they have a bunch of kids and they can't feel like they have enough time. Like, talk to us about like the time that you took 24/7. You're like, I'm going all in. What type of mindset was that? Like, because that's a little bit unique. How would you communicate and speak to someone that has a limited mindset around their life and opportunity? And what did you have to change? And what do you speak on now to help people do that?
Yeah. I resonate with them because I was the same way. And when you start to have that conversation with somebody about where you've been, you kind of get to an even playing field with them. And you let them know, I hear you and I know where you're at, to where they don't feel like you're just another person who's better than them talking down to them. You got to like get down on their level and understand where they're at and really be a human being to them and let them know listen, I've been exactly where you're at. I've made no money. I lost my house. I've lost my cars. I've been in debt. I've had the IRS chasing after me. I've done all these things, and let them know, like, you're not alone, but I can show you a way out. At the end of the day, this still goes down to the same thing that I said before. If you're not ready to change, I can't change you. Because if you were ready, you would have already started making the moves. So it's, again, I'm not looking for the people that are still in that. I'm looking for the people who are finally ready to listen, who reach out, and maybe they don't have any money, and that's cool. I don't even care if you don't have any money. It's not even about that. But I'm looking for the person that says, you know what, I'm sick and tired of where I'm at, and I know that I'm built for more, and I want to have that conversation of what that looks like. Cool. For $0, I can help you, and here's how we're going to do it. Or if you want to get to another level, we could talk about what that looks like too. But see, you can't drag stuck people with you. That's just like crabs in a bucket. Yeah. All the people that I grew up with, the way that my parents are and stuff, I can't change them, and I don't plan to, and I'm not going to exhaust myself doing it. But I have God on my side too. And God, when you hear the right person with the right message at the right time, you will move. At some point, you will move whenever you're ready for it. But just like we all have free will, God sends messages all the time. So he says, hey, I'm ready for you. I'm ready for you to step up when you are. I'm ready for you. Here's another reminder of me showing you that I'm ready for you. And you have to decide to step into that light. No human being can do that for you. I can't drag you through it. It's just the way that it is. But there are a lot of people out there, like you said, that are finally sick and tired enough and know that they're built for more. That's my guy. Yeah. That's who I'm looking for right there. I love it. And if they're scared, dude, I'll share my courage with you. I'll let you borrow some courage. I'll let you borrow courage, and I'll show you what it looks like to step into some light.
Tell me, it's 2025 in a few weeks here. What are some of the things you're doing to prepare for this next year? Are you journaling? Yep. You said you had whiteboards instead of TVs. Like, help us understand this whole new level of growth in this next year stepping into. What does that look like?
Yeah, so we don't start in January. We start usually in December, and we're kind of like, okay, we sit back and we have our whole year planned out. And I mean, literally, I think it's Jesse Itzler, right? He has the big ass calendar. And so, yeah, we do. Yeah, there you go. So we have that laid out, and we already know what our whole year is going to look like. We already know what our goals are. We already know what we need to do, all the way down to, like, what are we going to do on a daily basis? What's part of our habits and our routines? Because regardless of how good we get, we can always get better. There's always things that we can tweak. There's always areas, because we're human. There's always areas that we fell short at in the year before. And it's being so transparent with yourself. And my husband and I sit down and do this together. So transparent with each other on where we really feel like we fell short in 2024, and how we're going to be able to make some shifts in our everyday that's going to help us grow in 2025. See, you can't walk into 2025 and say, well, I'm going to do this, this, and this, without having a game plan of how you're going to get there. And it's those little actions day in and day out that compound, that get you to where you want to get to. It's making those extra phone calls. It's going out and shaking those extra hands that you don't necessarily want to shake. But I'm telling you, like, you don't realize how even meeting one extra person a day or making 10 extra phone calls a day will compound over 365 days of the year. And let's just say that, over 52 weeks. And let's just say that you take off a week, so you got 51, and then you also take off on weekends. Like, you slowly, if you're not careful with your time, you slowly end up leaving yourself with a very small amount of time to work, because you've bogged yourself down. You took too many days off through the year. Mm-hmm. And so if you think about all those days, and you think about, I take Saturday and Sunday off, that's 104 days a year out of 365 that you take off if you take off weekends. So if you really look at the whole year like that, and you're looking at it from out here, but you're also looking at it and you're zooming into, and you're like, okay, what are we doing every day to make sure that we don't fall into that? That's how we operate our whole year. And we come with those plans. It even comes down to a month-to-month basis. Like, I even have all of my goals laid out for what January is going to look like, what I'm going to execute on, but I also know what it's going to take. I know how many repetitions I have to put in to be able to get there. I know the kinds of people that I need to talk to, but I write all that stuff down and I lay it out. And we have it's not with me because it's at home, but we lay it out almost in like a little book. And we look at what, like a business plan, right? Yeah. And we look at what last year looked like, we look at ourselves, and we look at what the next year is going to look like. And so I already know, as long as I do those things, I'm going to get there. It's just a matter of, can I make sure that my mind stays right to where I keep that action 365 of the days of the year, and not just get fired up in December like most people do and then fall off after January.
Yeah. In sales, there's in everything, there's called the dog days of summer. the summer doldrums. There's these sayings in summer. In sales, what I've seen in corporations is they have a good sprint for Q1, and then Q2 is good, and then it starts, the kids get off of school, the summer vacations, and then the time they're ramping up by, they're already behind the time the fall comes with all the holidays and everything like this. What are some of the drivers that you guys teach there that just you guys reverse engineer from, hey, this is where I want to be at the end of the year. This is all the calls I need to do. This is what I need to do. What are some of the things that you guys do during the summer or during these different lulls that happen because of holidays that make you guys ramp up to stay at high level, focused with what you guys need to do?
Yeah. So I don't resonate with that because we don't have a slow time of year. Our business runs all the time. We don't have a lull. We're constantly, and I'm like, we may have like some flatline months, and there still may be, because regardless, it's kind of like this, right? Like you kind of end up going up. But I don't feel like we have a lull in this company because with what we do, people don't stop coming. People don't stop needing help. People don't stop wanting to self-develop. People don't stop wanting to change. There's constantly people flowing in. So we don't really have time in our specific business to experience a lull. And maybe that's a mindset. I don't know. But because I tell a lot of people that I think, to me, a lull is self-inflicted. Because think about what you just did, right? It's like you ramped up the end of the year. You got excited for what the new year was going to bring. You did all the actions in Q1 to where you could see the results, and you even saw those results last into Q2. But then you were like, oh, we're doing good. And you probably stopped doing some of the things that you were doing in January and in February because you got tired, because it was a lot of work. And then you created the result of the lull in the summer for you. Not because there aren't people out there who are ready to buy, not because there's not people that don't want to do business with you, but it's because you made that decision to let off the gas, and so now you have a summer lull. And now you're like, shit, now I have to actually do double the work again in Q3, the end of Q3, as you're going into Q4, to ramp it back up again to close the year out. But now you're behind on your quota. And then, but you're like, but the next year's coming. And then you get ramped again. It's a vicious cycle. When really, if you were just consistent all across the board 24/7, and I'm not saying you don't fall off, but at the end of the day, if you truly were consistent and created, I don't want to say balance, because nothing about building a business is balanced. Nothing about raising a family is balanced. But if you were just more intentional with your time and more self-aware, awareness will get you so much farther. The ability to look in the mirror at yourself and say, I'm not doing the right thing, and actually changing. The people that can self-correct will forever be wealthy. Yeah. If you can self-correct on yourself and just pivot faster, and even know it might take you a week or two, and it's like, oh, wait, I'm not doing the right thing. I can stay in this because it's comfortable, or I can remember what got me here and I can do the action. And that's the only way that you're going to keep that consistent and keep out of those summer lulls. I think people just don't like working for more than like 3 months at a time, and they're like, I need a month off.
It's the corporate world too, and what we teach in high performance is a little bit different. It's just like you get some main strong drivers in there that's just like, I want to drive and grow. It doesn't matter. So I love that. I love that. How can people follow you and connect with you further?
Yeah. So you can follow me. I'm on Instagram, mostly on Instagram, not as much like LinkedIn or anything like that, but it's the Real Saleswoman is my handle on Instagram. You guys can check me out. You can shoot me a follow, and reach out for whatever you need. I love sales. I'm ate up with it. So
I love it. I'll put those things down in the show notes. Thank you guys for listening in here and hearing Maria's story and her origin story and learning some new things. Again, if you haven't checked it out, there's a whole checklist and authority building training down below you guys can check out. Maria, thank you for being on the show. And until next time, we'll see you.